Welcome back to our coverage of the 2011 Kentucky Derby, and we're going to take a look at the horse Dialed In. And what we're going to do with these videos is we're going to break down the top three contenders in separate videos, and then we're going to be back with some long shot horses that we like and our actual picks in a later video. So be sure to watch all of the videos in this series. And Dave, Dialed In, 8 post position. I watched the draw yesterday. I'm sure you did too. When Nick Zito saw the draw, he had a big smile on his face when Dialed In drew the 8 hole. What are your takes on Dialed In?
Yeah, we've had a lot of horses that have won the Derby in recent years in that 5 to 8 range in post position. It's a perfect spot where if you have tactical speed, you can get up front. If you want to drop back, you can do that. Yeah, you don't want to be stuck too far inside or too far outside. All things being equal. I mean, Big Brown did win from the 20 post a few years ago. So, I mean, if the best horse is the best on that day, he can still win it. But yeah, all things being equal, number 8 was probably right where you wanted to be.
There's, a lot of people, you can't win the Kentucky Derby at the post position draw, but there's a lot of people believe you can actually lose it at the Kentucky Derby draw. And perfect example of that was last year with Bob Baffert and looking at Lucky. When he drew the rail, he just was not a happy camper, Bob, and the horse had absolutely no shot in the race. Got taken out early, bumped out of the gate, and just so many things can happen to a horse. But Dialed In, he's where he wants to be. He's a horse that, the name aptly fits him going into the Derby because he appears to be dialed in. And really, Dave, I don't know what your thoughts are on the Kentucky Derby. I think this is an absolutely wide open race. I've actually got 6 horses that I feel can win the race. He's the favorite, but I think he's the favorite just because there's no standout in this race. He's by default going to be the favorite. So what's your thoughts on Dialed In?
In fact, I just wrote something on my website just this morning where I said Dialed In, favored by default. Because, Uncle Mo was a super horse all spring long, and then lost the wood, has some health issues, which we'll get to in the next segment. But, so Dialed In won the Florida Derby. I mean, pretty good performance coming from behind, but it's kind of a slow race, and there are some questions about who he beat. So, I mean, in past years, we've had a lot stronger favorites, and a case can be made that if Uncle Mo is given a clean bill of health, he might be the favorite. So it's, again, it leads to that wide open aspect we're talking about.
How many times have you seen the Kentucky Derby favorite sitting at 4-1?
Right.
It tells you right there how wide open this race is. Obviously, that Florida Derby that you were talking about, people looked at that race and said, hey, he ran a monster race, come from way out of it to run down the front-running Shackleford, but it was still a heated stretch drive. I mean, he didn't put the horse away easily. I agree with you. I don't think the competition was really solid in the Florida Derby. He is working well leading up to this race. He's had solid workouts. On April 28th, 4 furlong workout in 48-2. Looks good there. He's got a trainer in Zito that we know knows how to win the Derby, and that's something that, obviously there's trainers that can win the first time during the Derby and that, but, there's a reason that we see the same names every year. Well, one, they start with the most horses every year, so they got the best chance to get there. But they know how to do it once they're there. So that's a benefit to Dialed In. The only question I have on Dialed In, my concern with him is that his closing style, and we always hear everybody talk about the Derby, because there's going to be a fast pace, and again, there are several speed horses in this year's Derby. People like to go to the closers, and that's great. They're going to be flying on the end of it. I agree with you. The problem that you've got to avoid when you're a closer is when you're passing all those horses that are coming back to you that are stopping, do you get a clean trip? And anybody that's driven in Las Vegas on the freeways, you get caught in behind a slow car, and everybody's passing you on the left and right, and you can't get out. That's what can happen in a horse race. Road traffic is a big problem, and that's my only concern. Does he get the clean trip that'll let him reach and win this Kentucky Derby?
Well, that's always the unknown factor, without a doubt, with any closer, like you said. And I mean, Dialed In, there's that element of luck that I always talk about when people show after the Derby. They show the Derby winner, then they show for that above camera view and how they weave through traffic and how everything goes perfect.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the winner story. Now, what about all the ones that don't get there?
Yeah.
And so yeah, that is definitely the obstacle he has to overcome. And again, I'm not that high on him. I mean, I might throw him in some exotic wagers, but yeah, I think he's going to be definitely underpriced for what he's achieved and what his upside is.
He's definitely to me, what I would call a counterfeit favorite in this race. He's just, he's there because there's just nobody else to step up and take that role. So that's our preview on Dialed In. We're going to be back in the next segment. We're going to talk about the horse that really coming into this year was going to be the odds-on favorite to win the Kentucky Derby, and that is the horse Uncle Mo. We'll be back with our preview.